Defiance dismantled. Police sweeping through college campuses after weeks of unrest. Protesters forced to flee their makeshift encampments as tensions reach a tipping point. A lot to get to tonight. Thanks for joining us for the CBS 13 News at 5. I'm Tony Lopez.
And I'm Hunter Sowards. The demonstrations over the war in Gaza now lead to hundreds of arrests at college campuses nationwide. Watch. Yeah, that's the scene today at Portland State University. Protesters there running from the heavily barricaded library they had just taken over as police in riot gear moved in. Officers say they found tools and improvised weapons inside that building. Students were told to shelter in place. The campus later closed for the day.
Here in California, another night of chaos at UCLA. Police and CHP officers deployed before dawn, ripping apart barricades that had been set up in the quad area, forcibly removing the pro-Palestinian encampment that had been declared unlawful. As the day wore on, officers continued to arrest protesters, zip-tying their hands as they hauled them away. At least 200 people were arrested at the UC campus, bringing the total number of arrests to more than 2,000 at college campuses nationwide. So the violence at UCLA has Republican state lawmakers calling for order and demanding accountability from administrators.
Your reporter covering Sacramento County, Tori Apodaca, is getting answers on the politics and money at play over these protests. Tori.
That's right, you guys. The Republican legislative leaders we heard from today want the state to withhold funding from the administrators on college campuses where these protests turned violent. Now, they made it very clear that uninvolved students would not be impacted by this cut to funding, but they want accountability for everything that's been happening. Chaos on college campuses across the country, with hundreds of pro-Palestinian protesters put in handcuffs.
I think what the president said was exactly right. You don't get to destroy property. You don't get to commit criminal acts on campus. No, that's not free speech.
Republican legislative leaders asking for action.
Who helped cause all that? To me, the campus administration who allowed this chaos to continue over weeks and let it escalate.
Starting with cutting funding to administrators that they said did little to protect students' rights. Governor Gavin Newsom called in CHP to restore order at UCLA and Cal State Humboldt. Republicans say the amount of state resources spent on this is the penalty administrators should pay in a budget cut. At Sacramento State,
I think anyone with a heart and a mind and eyes that have been witnessing what's been happening to Palestine can see that that's not right.
Administrators gave the green light to protesters to keep their encampment up through May 8th. Mostly peaceful protests on this campus, but some Israeli students and staff feeling intimidated.
Definitely been a bit worried and fearful, worried that the encampment here would similarly devolve into displays of hate crimes, violence, anti-Semitism.
Republicans demanding students found guilty of violent crimes on campuses should lose their Cal grants.
Jewish students are afraid to walk through campuses. Faculty are being barred from campuses.
But questions looming over how long encampments should be able to stay.
How long do you guys plan to be out here?
Until our demands are met.
A fight for Palestine and over what demonstration is allowed under First Amendment rights.
If that speech starts inciting violence, then that, I think, is problematic.
Now, I reached out to the governor's office for a response to the Republicans' push for accountability. They gave me this statement from Governor Newsom saying, quote, "The law is clear. The right to free speech does not extend to inciting violence, vandalism, or lawlessness on campus. Those who engage in illegal behavior must be held accountable for their actions, including through criminal prosecution, suspension, or expulsion." Now, there's no word yet on how much money these Republican leaders are calling to be cut from the administrators. They say that they will be discussing this through the budget process in the coming weeks.
All right, Tori, thank you.